I mean, I don't necessarily love excuses. I'm not really going to use them. We got our butts kicked tonight, and that's what it is. It doesn't matter if we...
Nobody expected this. The defending champions walked into Indianapolis looking to remind everyone why they were still one of the WNBA's elite teams. Instead, they ran into one of the greatest defensive performances in league history. Caitlin Clark didn't just beat the Las Vegas Aces. She rewrote the record books. 20 assists, historic efficiency, a 104-80 statement win. And afterward, the basketball world wasn't just talking about the score. Everyone was talking about what came next. Welcome back. Tonight we're breaking down one of the biggest games of the WNBA season. We'll examine Caitlin Clark's historic record, how Indiana dismantled the defending champions, what Aaliyah Wilson and Becky Hammon actually said after the game, why this victory may represent a turning point for the Fever. Most importantly, we'll separate emotion from fact. Let's dive in. Coming into this matchup, expectations heavily favored Las Vegas. The Aces had championship experience, a roster filled with all-stars, one of the league's best players in Aaliyah Wilson. Indiana, meanwhile, had spent the season growing around rookie sensation Caitlin Clark. There had been flashes of brilliance, but questions remained. Could this young team beat an established powerhouse? For 40 minutes, they answered that question emphatically. Caitlin Clark controlled the game from the opening possession. She manipulated defenses, created open looks, pushed the pace, found teammates before defenders even recognized the passing lanes. When the final buzzer sounded, Clark had recorded 20 assists, a new single-game WNBA record. That number alone tells part of the story. But the bigger story was how effortless she made everything look. Indiana's offense flowed with confidence. Every player benefited from Clark's vision. This wasn't simply a great scoring performance. It was one of the finest playmaking displays the league has ever seen. Historic performances rarely happen alone. Aaliyah Boston controlled the paint. Indiana shot efficiently. The ball movement never stopped. The Fever consistently created quality opportunities. Meanwhile, Las Vegas struggled to find rhythm offensively. Indiana forced difficult shots, won transition opportunities, controlled momentum. This wasn't about one lucky quarter. It was sustained execution. After the game, attention shifted to the podium. Aaliyah Wilson acknowledged that the Aces had been outplayed and emphasized the need for improvement. Head coach Becky Hammon also discussed areas where the team fell short while answering questions about officiating and scheduling. As often happens after emotional losses, comments from press conferences quickly spread across social media. Some fans focused on discussions about physical play. Others argued the final score spoke for itself. Regardless of differing opinions, one fact remained unchanged. Indiana had earned a convincing victory through outstanding execution. Games like this are bigger than one regular season win. They showcase the incredible talent across today's WNBA. Aaliyah Wilson remains one of the league's premier players. Caitlin Clark continues to redefine expectations for a rookie point guard. Rather than replacing one star with another, the league is entering an era where multiple superstars are driving unprecedented attention and growth. That's good news for everyone involved. For Indiana, the challenge now becomes consistency. Can they build on this performance against other contenders? For Las Vegas, championship teams are measured by how they respond after difficult losses. With veterans like Aaliyah Wilson leading the way, few would count the Aces out. If these teams meet again later this season, expect another must-watch matchup. Historic records, championship expectations, a statement victory. Whether you're a Fever fan, an Aces supporter, or simply a basketball fan, this game reminded everyone why the WNBA continues to grow at an incredible pace. Now, we want to hear from you. Was this Caitlin Clark's greatest performance so far? Or do you believe the defending champions will respond in the next meeting? Leave your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We'll see you in the next one. One of the biggest reasons this game immediately became one of the most talked about matchups of the WNBA season wasn't simply because Indiana defeated the defending champions. It was the manner in which they did it. From the opening tip, the Fever played with confidence, pace, and purpose, forcing Las Vegas to defend every inch of the floor. Caitlin Clark orchestrated the offense with remarkable composure, consistently reading double teams, anticipating defensive rotations, and finding teammates in scoring position before the defense could recover. Her record-setting assist total wasn't the result of one or two spectacular passes. It was built through 40 minutes of elite decision-making and relentless pressure on the Aces' defense. Every possession seemed to present a new challenge for Las Vegas, whether it was Clark threading a pass through traffic, Aaliyah Boston establishing position in the paint, or Indiana's perimeter shooters capitalizing on open looks created by crisp ball movement. By the second half, the Fever weren't simply protecting a lead. They were dictating the game's tempo and forcing one of the league's most accomplished teams to play from behind. For a franchise that has spent years building toward contention, this performance represented more than a regular season victory. It showcased a level of chemistry, confidence, and execution that suggested Indiana is rapidly evolving into a legitimate threat against the WNBA's elite teams. The significance of this matchup extends well beyond a single night in the standings because it highlights the changing landscape of the league. Aaliyah Wilson remains one of the WNBA's premier superstars, an MVP-caliber player whose dominance has helped establish the Aces as a modern dynasty, and one difficult loss does not erase that resume. At the same time, Caitlin Clark continues to demonstrate why expectations surrounding her transition to the professional game have been so high. Rather than being a story about one player replacing another, this game illustrated the emergence of a compelling new rivalry between established champions and a rising young contender. Fans, analysts, and former players immediately began dissecting every aspect of the contest, from Indiana's offensive execution to Las Vegas' defensive adjustments and the broader implications for the playoff race. If these teams meet again later in the season, both sides will have valuable lessons to draw from this performance. The Aces will look to make tactical adjustments and reassert themselves as championship contenders, while the Fever will aim to prove that this wasn't a one-game breakthrough, but the beginning of a sustained rise. That's what makes this matchup so captivating. It wasn't merely about one historic record or one decisive final score, but about a league entering a new era where every meeting between established stars and emerging talent has the potential to become must-watch basketball. As the final minutes ticked away and the outcome was no longer in doubt, the atmosphere inside the arena shifted from anticipation to celebration. Every possession seemed to reinforce the same conclusion. Indiana had discovered a formula that worked against one of the WNBA's most accomplished teams. The Fever continued to move the ball with patience, refusing to settle for difficult shots and instead forcing the Aces to defend deep into the shot clock. Clark's court vision remained the centerpiece of everything Indiana did offensively, but the victory was ultimately a reflection of complete team basketball. Aaliyah Boston's interior presence created second-chance opportunities and drew defensive attention inside, while the backcourt consistently knocked down shots generated by Clark's playmaking. Defensively, Indiana communicated effectively, rotated with urgency, and limited many of the easy scoring opportunities that Las Vegas typically converts. The result was a performance that looked less like an upset fueled by emotion and more like a carefully executed game plan carried out with confidence from start to finish. For a young roster still learning how to compete against championship-caliber opponents, this was perhaps the clearest indication yet that the Fever's rapid development is beginning to translate into victories against the league's very best. It was the type of win that players remember because it builds belief inside the locker room, giving a developing team tangible proof that it can compete on the biggest stage against the toughest competition. Beyond the box score and the record books, this game also underscored how quickly the WNBA's competitive landscape is evolving. Established contenders like the Las Vegas Aces remain loaded with elite talent, championship experience, and one of the game's most dominant players in Aaliyah Wilson. At the same time, Indiana's young core is beginning to develop the chemistry and confidence that many observers believed would take much longer to achieve. The attention surrounding Caitlin Clark naturally draws headlines, but performances like this highlight the importance of the players around her, each contributing to a balanced attack that becomes increasingly difficult to defend. As the regular season progresses, opposing coaches will undoubtedly